Welcome or welcome back to the Imperfectly Charming podcast. I am doing a series of 4 interviews with people from a community-wide event that is coming to my town in January 2026, January 31st, 2026, and it is called the Lake County Joy Summit. And I have one of the guest speakers with me today. And before we get into asking questions, I'm going to introduce her. Amber Swenor is a transformational leadership coach, business strategist, and frontwoman of an award-winning band, Morningstar. As the founder of Soul Seed Strategy and the Wall Street Journal bestselling author of Unleashed, a Been There, Rock That Guide to Radical Authenticity in Life and Business. She helps leaders and teams align who they are with how they lead, creating success that's authentic, energizing, and deeply fulfilling. Blending strategy with soul, Amber empowers people to lead with purpose, strengthen self-trust, and live with greater authentic power because the greatest power comes from leading as your whole true self. Welcome, Amber. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you wanted to add to that I left out?
You captured it.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing this series for the Joy Summit, and Amber is one of our wonderful guest speakers that we have for the day. So our theme for this summit is Here Comes the Sun. It's about stepping into the light of joy, hope, and renewal. And your message is going to be about radical authenticity, which feels like a perfect reflection of that. What does that really mean to you, especially in connection with your talk on authenticity?
Mm. Authenticity is truly a path to greater personal joy, personal freedom, and also career and leadership success. I love that theme, Here Comes the Sun, because so much in the journey of life and in the personal development space, we're often looking at where we have room to grow or things that we want to strengthen or improve. And there's so much power in reconnecting with the pieces of ourselves that are true that we have muted down based on who the world told us to be or who we think we need to be to fit in. And so I love that this is just so empowering with the theme. It's about shining our light and being more of our true selves, the richness of all of our life experiences. And that's really what true authenticity is when we align our actions are aligned with our beliefs and values and who we truly are.
And it's so hard in today's climate to be
Oof,
that authentic person because
yeah.
people are throwing stuff at us. Social media is telling us how we should be and act. And I think if we can tap into that authentic power, that is magic.
Yes, it really becomes really a strategy for thriving. And, I work with a lot of really caring people who care about fostering community and belonging. And so sometimes this can be a little bit of a struggle, especially to what you said, when there's so much noise out there in social media that some of the most caring, loving people I know, they struggle with this idea of being their full self because they have this false idea that somehow it will make them less connected to others when actually the opposite is true. The more that we honor who we are, we create space for others to do that as well.
And we do. People don't want to be vulnerable, but when we are vulnerable and we speak our from our true self, people connect with us like
Yeah.
100% because they can
Yeah.
see themselves in us, right? Or they can see
Yes.
themselves.
Yes.
So people that have a hard time with authenticity and leaning into that true self about their beliefs and the values, it can take
Mhm.
time, right, to learn how to do that. How can someone begin the process of discovering who they truly are with what they generally believe? Will you be teaching a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. And I will give a bit of a highlight. And I love what you just shared because that is the definition of authenticity is when your words and actions are congruent with your beliefs and values. And what's interesting about that is if we look at what you believe, if you pick any subject, love, work, the world of work, money, relationships, you most people don't believe now what they might have believed 10 or 20 years ago. And so that's where we take this work deeper, which is around unpacking our belief systems so that we can be more in alignment with who we truly are. So, one of the great places to start looking at this is very simple exercise. If you were to describe yourself in your top qualities, how do you see yourself? What words do you write down? And then ask some close friends and family if they described you, what words do they use? And just seeing where common threads match up. Sometimes our loved ones see all this brilliance in us, or sometimes maybe aspects that were like, ooh, I didn't realize that maybe I was saying that or doing that. And so that's a great self-awareness to start seeing how your identity matches with what other people see. And then there's a framework that I'll be teaching, but just to give a little glimpse of it, it's the think, feel, do framework. And it's to help people start analyzing and looking at when you're evaluating a challenge you have, what are your thoughts around it? What are your feelings and emotions around it? And what are you doing or not doing? And so tools like that to help you look holistically at the whole picture can be a really great place to start.
I love that. And I'm guessing, will you be providing some sort of examples? Because sometimes when people will ask me about my values or what I believe in, sometimes it's a blank until someone like helps
Absolutely.
pull that out.
Oh, yes. What I do is experiential. It is not talking at people conceptually. I'll be facilitating so that people can experience and arrive at their own awareness.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that. I love when you can learn in the moment and give
Yes.
examples and real life. Yeah, I that's going to be exciting.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. So I tell people to, come ready with your curiosity hat and be open to your growth. Because what I do is very co-created with the audience.
I love that. I will look forward to experiencing that during the summit. So you also talk about the gap between really how we show up and really that gap that can drain our energy, creativity, and fulfillment. What are some signs that we may be living out of alignment or performing rather than being?
Yes. So we each have our own, what I call a default, and it's a way, it could be a predominant emotion that might show up. And all emotions are wonderful data and are important. And for some people, that might be frustration, resentment, shutting down, closing off. That can be information. If you notice that happening, there is something that's out of alignment that needs to be addressed. So, for example, when I work with business owners, and I experience this, when I had started to feel some resentment for the business I created, and I loved my team and that I had built, but I was starting to feel this overwhelm and this pressure and this resentment. And when I started looking deeper, it was because I was taking on too many responsibilities and taking away their opportunity to step up in their growth for them to get the opportunity for more responsibility. So you could see that even in any relationship, any partnership, that's where there's sometimes a gap, is when we start to notice ourselves feeling bogged down, and we really need to start looking at why is that. And usually then there's an opportunity there to ask for help, to say what we need, to start managing our yeses and our nos, right? And this journey of authenticity is, for everything you add, sometimes it's good to look at what are two things you're peeling away, because a lot of us don't need more, we need less.
We need to stop doing and start being, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think part of what you were just talking about is really it's our awareness of those gaps, right? That is, it sounds like that might be the first step
Mhm.
is our being aware of when
Absolutely.
those gaps happen.
Yes. Yeah. Fostering greater self awareness, greater emotional intelligence is key.
Another thing that I learned from when I was doing a little bit of research on you is part of your message is about releasing self-doubt and rebuilding self-trust. For
Mm,
those who've spent years second guessing themselves or trying to please others, where does the rebuilding that trust begin?
mm. Ooh, love that. It's, well, it is a personal journey for each person, and we all have different lived experiences. And so much of who we are as adults is impacted from who we were as children and what we were raised with. And psychology says that a majority of our belief systems are formed by the age of 7. So for different people, there could be a lot of different starting points. Some things that I have found very helpful, and work that I do with clients and along with for myself, are having safe spaces, whether that's friend group, therapists, coaches, communities that you're a part of that can validate and support you in taking step, even if it's baby steps forward, more in the direction that you feel called toward. What can be very challenging for people is when they feel on a path to start exploring more of who they truly are, and you open up to someone who is not prepared or does not on that wavelength, or they only see you for who you've been, or they might respond with their own fear response. I know I struggled with that when I shared some of, years ago, when I started sharing some of my ideas with friends or family, and they loved me, but they could only see as far as their own limitations. And so establishing some level of trust. That's why events and spaces like this are so powerful, because we're all there under this shared commitment to growing in joy, to our personal development, to being there for each other. Those are really great spaces to just have conversations and make new friendships, make power partners, to have those spaces, because as humans, we are not meant to do all of this alone. It is vulnerable. And when you've got the right safe spaces to express that vulnerability, it is powerful.
And there is, like you said, it's so powerful being in community with like-hearted and like-minded people. And I'm guessing that many people coming to this Joy Summit are going to make new connections with people they maybe never would have met had they not come to something like this.
Yes, absolutely. I was just speaking at an event this week, and there's a woman where a year ago we were at the same conference, and we just really formed a beautiful connection. We had known each other online for a few years, but that in person, face to face, we really synced up around a number of our goals, and we worked together this whole last year, supporting each other as accountability partners. And now we both went and co led a workshop at an event this last week. And I'm able to see it's because we were in person together. We were brave enough to share our challenges and our goals, and then it just clicked. And I always encourage people, if it doesn't click or if you don't get a really supportive response, that is might be more about them and not you, and to not let it get you down and still keep showing up, because then you will find your people.
Right. You will find your people. You will know who your people are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you remind us that when we live in harmony with our truth and joy, it becomes our natural state. What does joy feel like when you're living fully in your authentic self?
Mm. So for each of us, that's going to be personal. And I'm bringing an activity to the Joy Summit to actually really help us embody that feeling in a way that's personalized. For me, it feels like ease. It feels like full love for myself and others, judgment free. There's not that story running that's doubting myself and second guessing everything I say or judging other people. And it's just a pure frequency of love and freedom. And to me, that's joyful.
Mm. Yeah, I have been on this healing path for many years and learning to trust myself. And I do go off course, but when you really do start learning how to trust yourself, things become easier, don't they?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, yep. And that's a journey. Um, and learning how we each hear those messages for ourselves. One of the tools that I really enjoyed is called human design. And it speaks to different energy types. Okay, so you understand it. And we could go on a whole conversation about that. But the more that I learned that how my decision making works, because I'm what's called an emotional decision maker, and intuitively I often know my answer, but I ride an emotional wave up and down, where what that would look like is I would need to talk about a decision 5 different ways with 5 different people. And before I understood this about myself, I would often get projections from people that are like, Amber, why are you talking about this again? Just do it already. And I would judge myself until I realized actually, that's good for me. Sometimes I just need to voice it and I need to let my loved ones know I don't want you to tell me what to do. I just want you to listen. And the more I embrace that, the easier it's become to trust myself, because now what happens is a lot of times I know my answer and I say, okay, I just need to talk this out a few times. Even though I know my answer, as I talk about it, I get more confident in my answer. But see, some other people don't relate to that. Some people are gut decision makers, right? Do you know your decision making?
It is emotional. It
So
is
you
emotional.
understand what I'm saying?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I went down that. I'm going down that rabbit hole of human design, and it's so fascinating.
Yes. And it's just empowering when we understand ourselves so that even if others don't, we can give ourselves the grace and that self confidence and self trust to say, I know myself.
Yes. Yeah. There's so much to learn, and I'm very excited that you're going to be bringing this to the Joy Summit. For those sitting here today who feel ready to drop the mask, but don't quite know
Mm.
where to start,
Mm.
what's one small, meaningful action they can take today to begin living more authentically with freedom? Is there something you can
Yes.
in your toolbox?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you more than one.
Oh, perfect.
I'm going to cheat and give you three. So, one
Okay.
is I invite them to, and even if they close their eyes and put on some meditation music and bring themselves to a feeling of a time when they felt fully free. What about that felt good? What is that energy? Who were they with? What were they doing? How can they anchor that feeling and aim to bring that feeling throughout their day? Because what happens is when we anchor that, we start to recognize as we're moving throughout our day which things really allow us to remain in that feeling and which things, people, places, projects just are no longer in alignment. It's starting with that empowered place of embracing what, that feeling of feeling good. And then as you encounter things that aren't a match, you can evaluate, why isn't that a match? Is that a relationship I want to maintain and I just need to ask for something different? Or maybe it's just no longer a fit for my true joy. So that's one exercise. A second thing, and I believe we'll put it in the show notes, is on my website. I have a free workbook under resources called Uncover Your Dreams and Unleash Your Impact. And that has prompts that help you connect with who you truly are. And the third thing, if people want to check out my book called Unleashed, it's on audiobook or it can be ordered from my website or on Amazon. So my book or any other book that speaks to someone around that journey of authenticity.
Yeah, we will definitely have all of your links and how to get in touch with you in the show notes. And one thing I did want to bring up when you were talking, just like steps to take. I know one of the steps that I have been learning is setting boundaries. Is
Yes,
being
absolutely.
able to set boundaries and that being my authentic self and saying, no, I need to figure out what's good for me here, and not try to be a people pleaser. So that was,
Yay. That's amazing and so important, because it's to that point around sometimes it's not about adding more, it's about creating space for yourself.
right, right. Tapping into that state of being and not always doing.
Mhm.
I look forward to meeting you in person at the Joy Summit. Is there anything else you want to share before I let you get on with your busy day?
Oh, anyone that has just a thought about being there, I encourage them to act on it. Oftentimes, things end up so much better than we can even imagine. But you have to put yourself in the room and be there in order to receive that impact. And I know that people's lives get busy, but I can look at so many times in my life and loved ones' lives that they took the time to give themselves a day for this kind of development work. And it can be a powerful door opening to so much more for yourself, but you have to put yourself in the room.
Yes, and I encourage everybody, if they are feeling that nudge that this is a place where you want to be and you want to just learn and discover more about yourself, the Joy Summit is for you. And tickets are available. I'll have that information in the show notes as well. I appreciate, Amber, that you were coming on here and talking to us, and I look forward to your awesomeness and your authenticity up on stage at
Woo-hoo.
the Joy Summit.
Thank
Appreciate.
you. I'm so looking forward to it. I love that I've been invited to speak at a summit that gets it, that's about embracing joy. I can't imagine something better.
In the middle of winter where we need some
Yes.
fun and joy and goodness and light. Bring it
Yes.
on. Thank you so much, Amber, and we will see you soon.
Sounds good. Thank
Okay.
you.